Hi everyone. This week we are taking our midterm exam, and we're also covering in our textbook the chapter on getting prepared for exams. So I want to take a few minutes and walk through some information for you. The very first thing I need you to do though is remember we also are wrapping up our note-taking week. So if you don't have a pencil and a piece of paper, I need you to stop the video, go get it, and come back. You are to take notes on this lecture in one of the note-taking methods that we covered in the book last week and that we talked about on the discussion forum last week. So you can pick whichever one of the four methods you want, but you need to indicate at the top of your paper which method you chose. It should be obvious when I'm looking at it, but it would be helpful for you to put that. Be sure to put your name on it as well, because you're going to upload a picture of it to the note-taking Dropbox after you finish this video. So let's get started. You have your paper and pencil. We're ready. We're going to talk about performing well on exams. So one of the first things, obviously, that you need to do is prepare for tests. And part of that is building a sensible study schedule. You want to space out your study time. I apologize. You want to space out your study time so that you're studying multiple days before the test. And you're studying more than one time before the test. You want to be sure to provide time to prepare, to learn, and to remember. All of the things we've talked about so far, converting information from working memory into long-term memory, encoding that information so that you can recall it later, managing your time so that you can actually have the time to spend for the things that are most important. All of that is coming into play now. When you prepare for test, we want you to use your study skills. We have talked about quite a few of those in this class. We've talked specifically about reading. You have 5 chapters to study for this test. So chapter 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all chapters on this test. You have to have read them very well and carefully. You should have taken notes on the chapters that you read, and we did some specific lessons on note-taking and different note-taking methods. Strengthening your memory is important. We had a whole lesson on memory and how to encode information so that you can recall it later. And all of these combine into study skills. You should know the exam format. For this particular test, there will be 50 multiple choice questions. There's no other question types on this test, but when you do take exams, it's helpful if you can prepare yourself by knowing what types of questions there are. This is a closed book test. You will not be able to use any notes, materials, or books, or your phone. They ask or recommend that you find out, is the exam cumulative or is it only on new information? And so as I mentioned in this class, our test is on chapters 5 through 9. But in some classes, you will have cumulative exams at the end of the semester on everything you've learned. We do not have a cumulative exam in this class. This is the only midterm exam. We don't have a final in this class. One suggestion is you review previous exams if there are any. This class, we do not release those. But I will tell you that if you practice the learning curves, and even if they're turned off, you can go back and review them. And it would be helpful to do that, as well as read the questions, read the chapters, read the summaries at the end of the chapter. Be sure to pay attention to the diagrams and those kinds of things. Talk with your instructor is another way to prepare for tests. You can visit during office hours, and I sent out this week in an announcement the office hours I will be doing online for you for the rest of the semester. You can just click the link in that announcement area and drop into my office. I'll be sitting right here. You will be able to see me and any screen shares that I do. If you have a webcam, I will also be able to see you, but that's not required to be able to meet me during office hours. I will just hear your voice. I will not see your face. It's important to stay healthy when you're preparing for exams. So you want to stick to your normal exercise, dietary, and sleep routines. Lots of students feel like it's a rite of passage or something they have to do to stay up all night before an exam studying. Research shows that does not help. You do not do well on those tests, or you do not do as well as you would do if you studied in advance and slept well that night. And it's certainly not good for your health to do that. particularly during the time of year when Louisiana's weather is changing all the time, and you are more likely to be exposed to the flu or these awful, my daughter calls them allergy illnesses that are going around. Test anxiety is another issue that comes up for some people taking exams. If you get nervous or worry before or after an exam, that is a normal occurrence. It usually happens for people. A small of anxiety can be good and help you stay focused, but intense anxiety can be detrimental. And you can see some of the different physical reactions that may be included, but stress manifests itself in different ways in different people. So our book talked about quite a few strategies for managing test anxiety, and I also posted a video that you will respond to, or that you were, I think it's this week, you will respond to. It's not a video, it's an article, I'm sorry, on some different ways to manage test anxiety. Breathing is a very good one. It helps a lot. Muscle relaxation is another one that helps a lot. That's where you target particular groups of muscles and tense them up, and then you let them relax, and that allows you to kind of focus your attention, and it does help with an overall stress reduction. Being prepared, pardon me, as we mentioned earlier, is your very best method for managing stress, test anxiety, and for doing well on your test. Reframing negative thoughts into positive ones is an interesting one. They've done an extensive amount of research on this. And we have a tendency sometimes, students have a tendency sometimes to have these negative thoughts. I can't do math, or I can't do science, or this is too hard for me. And the reality is it's not too hard for you. The reality is with effort and attempts, you can do this, and you can actually improve your performance by talking to yourself about the positive things that you can do. So if you struggle in math, instead of saying, I can't do math, say something you can do, and think of and identify or take credit for the time you've spent studying. I have worked hard at this. I am good at music. Well, music and math are very directly related. And so it's not that you can't do it, it's that you either haven't been given the opportunity or you have been conditioned to think that you can't. But framing things in a more positive way, reframing things in a more positive way are certainly very helpful. And my lights just went out. Visualization, having worry time, and this kind of gets at some of the things the article is about this week, but writing down, either through a journal or just through a paragraph, writing down what you're worried about and helping yourself realize this is not a life-changing event. This is a snapshot in time of whether or not you know specific information on a specific topic. It won't change your life for the good or the bad. And so keep things in perspective. Visualization is another good strategy for relaxing. If you have a happy place, mine's the beach. Close your eyes a minute and think about that happy place. Hear the sounds, smell the smells, the things that bring you joy. Take a minute or so to do that so that you can kind of put yourself in a better emotional state. And you want to be sure and take advantage of campus resources. So we have a student support center. Ms. Kathy Wimmer is a name you might want to write down if test anxiety is an issue for you. She is our academic counselor. She does a lot with the job fairs. She does a lot of advising. She does academic counseling. So she is someone that you could reach out to for some resources on this. So back to reframing negative messages, because this is a little bit of an important one. So instead of saying, I'm going to forget everything I've studied, reframe that, I'm well prepared and I know the material. And so I'm terrible at taking tests to I'm getting better at taking tests. It's not lying to yourself, but it's putting things in a more positive light, right? I'm not smart enough. I am smart enough and I belong here. LSUA is a selective admission school. And if you are enrolled here, it's because somebody believes you can make it, that you can do this. So it's important that you know that and that you take advantage of that in thinking about your outcomes. The power of positive thought. Research suggests that thinking positively helps reduce test anxiety and leads to better test performance. And there's been a whole lot of different ways they've measured this. But they also give us a few, and these are really good, test-taking strategies. Be sure to start smart and read the directions. Kind of preview the questions if you have that opportunity to budget your time. So you know for this test you'll have 50 questions and you'll have 1 hour to complete them. You want to start with easy questions. If you're scanning things and you're seeing questions you don't know the answers to, it's okay to read down a few. I'm going to show you a tip here in a minute. This is specifically when answering multiple choice questions, which is what our test is going to be. Again, read the directions carefully. Answer the question in your mind before you read the answer choices. So think about, do I know what answer I'm looking for? Mark any questions that you skip is one that's important. I'm going to show you how to do that. And most importantly, read all of the options. Whoops, I didn't mean to get back on that. Read all of the options, because there often will be, or in some cases there will be, an answer that says all of the other choices are correct. But if you don't read them all, you don't know that. Keep in mind, in an online environment, many times the test questions and the answers are scrambled. So what's on your test as the second option is going to be a different option when I take the test. So it can't say all of the above, because sometimes it's actually at the top or in the middle. So it'll say all other answers are correct, or it may say none of the other answers are correct. So you want to be sure and read and see if that's happening. If you do find a question that you're struggling with, in Moodle, there is a way to flag that question. If you click where this circle is, it's going to put a red triangle in the quiz navigation area to show you which questions you've marked. You can just work through the rest of the questions and then come back to these at the end. Sometimes the answer to one question will actually be in another question, or another question will trigger for you and help you remember something that helps on that question you got stumped on. So don't be afraid to use the marking feature. You do want to be sure when you submit the quiz, it will show you which ones are answered, and it'll show you if any have been left blank, give you a chance to go back and answer those. When you can submit it with questions marked. You don't have to go unmark them all, but you do need to answer them all to be able to possibly get full credit. Also, for answering multiple choice questions, look for mismatches in how the question and answer options are worded. Sometimes just reading through it, if you're paying attention, you can tell that that answer doesn't go with that question because it doesn't really make sense. It's not the same type of language, or it's not written in the same manner. Look for clues in other questions, as I mentioned. Look for conditional and unconditional language. So if a question says something is always true or something is never true, you really want to make a hard case for that, because there are very few things in life, there are some, but there are very few things in life that are always or never, that are absolutely conditional. And again, think about the all other choices option. You don't want to pick the first answer that's right, because it may be that multiple answers are right. If you are given a matching question, which you won't on this test, but if you are given a matching question, again, be sure to read the questions, the question prompt or directions very carefully. Read through all the options, then start at the top of one list, answer the questions you know first, and match all of the items. Quickly double check your answers if you get a chance. When answering true-false questions, again, that conditional or unconditional language, the always or never type language, is important. If any part of the answer option is incorrect, then that answer is false. And so sometimes this trips students up, because they'll read a prompt and the answer it's got two phrases and part of it's true but the other part's not. If that's the case, then you have to mark false. Again, we're not having true false, but that will help you on those. And rewrite double negatives. Remember, if something is not true, that means it is true. So if it's two no's, it's a yes. So be aware of that and be careful with those. When you're taking a test online, be sure to check your browser, make sure it is compatible with whatever testing we're doing. We're testing in Moodle, so if you've been able to access all of your material, then your browser's good. You want to test your internet connection. That also means if you're going to test through ProctorU, that you test your equipment, that your webcam works. If you go to the ProctorU link at the top of our course site, you'll have to make an account if you don't have one, but there's a link on there to test your equipment. There's no cost for it, but it will allow you to chat with someone from technical support to solve your problem before the test day, if indeed there is something wrong. And if not, it will give you green checks across and will say you're good to go. And so that eases some of the tension. You want to make sure you don't click the start button until you're ready. You want to make sure you have pop-ups enabled in your browser, because it will pop up questions and ProctorU will need that done. You need to be sure to reserve a quiet space for your test. ProctorU will not allow you to test if other people are coming in and out of the room. So you can't test in the dining room by your front door, or at the bar if your kids are coming in to get snacks, in the kitchen. So just be aware that you have to have a quiet space that no one else is in. Be sure and test with integrity. This is as much about your education and your future. And so you want to take a test with integrity and demonstrate behavior that reflects your values. Do your own work rather than cheating, and know that there are penalties if people are caught cheating. Consequences to cheating can be everything from failing the exam to being expelled from the university. So you want to avoid even the appearance of cheating, okay? Follow up after test. So you're going to evaluate, how did you prepare? Was the test harder than you thought, or was it easier than you thought? Did you study the right material? And one of the activities we have this week is a test prep sort of reflection. And what we want you to do is at the beginning of the week is think about this test that's coming up and any others you might have that are coming up, and kind of plot out how you're going to prepare and what you do. And then after you get your score on the midterm exam, which you will see as soon as you take it, after you get your score, finish the last of that activity. Did you do as well as you had hoped? Did it go well? What are you going to do different next time? Those kind of things. So you want to be sure to pay attention to that. Also, after test, you want to find out, it's important that you know what your exam results are. And I will go over some of the results, but I won't give you your test back per se. I will go over the questions that may seem troublesome for some students. Learn from your mistakes. If you do get a bad grade, and I'm not predicting that you will, but if you get a bad grade on a test, know that that happens to just about everyone. It's not the end of the world, and we need to move forward. So how do we do better next time? How do we learn from our mistakes? Take a few deep breaths. One poor test doesn't reflect your ability to succeed, but you do have to find a way to learn from each experience and to improve based on the experiences that you have, right? And so that concludes this test prep video. So please take those notes. Take good pictures of them. Try not to get shadows on your pictures. Some of you have done a terrific job propping it up on a book or having someone hold it up against the wall for you so that you can get the whole sheet in there. And then you can email it to yourself, or however you're getting it on your computer. There's a couple of different ways. If your phone connects directly to your computer, you may be able to find it that way, just as a drive. And you take that document and put it in the note-taking Dropbox for this week. And I hope you have a great week. Thank you so much.